Hola, ¿qué tal estás? Este vídeo es un recopilatorio de los mejores vídeos de nuestro canal para aprender inglés de forma fácil y práctica. Encontrarás lecciones, consejos y ejercicios que te ayudarán a mejorar muy rápido. ¿En qué te ayudará este vídeo? Conseguirás muchas más oportunidades laborales. Viajar y comunicarte por el mundo sin traductores. Acceso a información actualizada y entretenimiento global sin límites. Tener una confianza muy alta por ser capaz de entender todo. Si te gusta, dale me gusta, suscríbete y activa la campanita. Para seguir aprendiendo con nosotros. Y muy importante, lee el primer comentario fijado o la descripción del vídeo, porque siempre traemos regalos muy especiales para nuestros seguidores.
The Duck and the Proud Swan. Imagine a very quiet lake, where the water shines in the morning sun. It is a beautiful place, surrounded by tall trees and flowers that seem to smile. Here lives a small, friendly duck. It is a duck like any other, with soft feathers and feet that splash joyfully in the water. In this lake, too, lives a swan. But this swan is not like the duck. No. This swan has a long, elegant neck, snow-white feathers and a look that always seems proud. He walks as if the whole lake were his. He feels special, very special. Every morning, the duck swims happily around the lake, enjoying the sun and the freshness of the water. He doesn't care how he looks, or what others think. He is just happy being himself. The swan, on the other hand, spends his days looking at his reflection in the water. He looks at himself and thinks, I am the most beautiful of all. There is no one like me. One day, the swan sees the duck splashing nearby and approaches with an arrogant smile. Duck, he says in his soft but firm voice, wouldn't you like to be like me? Look at my feathers, my grace, my beauty. You're just a plain, ordinary duck. The duck, still splashing, looks at the swan with a smile. Maybe, he says, but I'm happy just the way I am. I love to swim and play in the water. I don't need to be anything else to enjoy my life. The swan, surprised by the duck's response, frowns. But, duck, he insists, you don't understand. Being beautiful is the most important thing. Everyone admires me for my beauty. The duck swims on, unconcerned by the swan's words. Maybe for you, that's the most important thing. But for me, being happy is what counts. And so, day after day, the swan continues to look at his reflection, while the duck continues to enjoy the lake. They both live in the same place, but they see life in very different ways. What the swan doesn't know is that, deep in the lake, there is a secret that will change everything. One day, something very special will happen. Something that will make the swan see the world in a different light. But that is a story yet to be told. What do you think will happen? Will the swan learn something from the duck? Or will the duck discover something new about itself? The swan went about its daily routine, admiring its reflection in the water and feeling proud of its beauty. Meanwhile, the duck continued to enjoy its simple life, swimming and splashing happily in the lake. One day, a dark storm began to form on the horizon. Clouds gathered and the wind blew hard, causing the lake to become choppy. Birds living near the water began to seek shelter, and the swan, seeing its image in the water distorted by the waves, felt an uneasiness it had never experienced before. The duck, noticing the approach of the storm, decided to find a safe place. It knew that the reeds on the shore offered protection from the wind and rain. It headed there, certain that it would be safe. The swan, however, did not want to leave his beloved reflection, even though the water was moving violently. "I am the most beautiful," he thought, "and I must stay close to my reflection. How could others admire my beauty if I hide myself?" The raindrops began to fall, first gently, then harder. The lake, once so serene, became a whirlpool of waves and currents. The swan struggled to stay close to the surface, but the wind and rain pushed him farther and farther away. The duck, from his shelter in the reeds, watched the swan with concern. Although the swan had always been haughty and aloof, the duck knew that he could not leave him alone in the middle of the storm. So, without a second thought, he left his shelter and swam with all his might to where the swan was struggling to stay afloat. "Swan," the duck shouted above the roar of the wind. "Follow me. I know a safe place." The swan, exhausted and frightened, looked at the duck in bewilderment. He had never considered that he might need help, let alone from a simple duck. But the storm was relentless, and the swan realized that if he did not accept help, he could be swept away by the currents. Finally, he nodded weakly, and with the duck's guidance, he swam toward the reeds. There they took shelter together as the storm raged across the lake. When the storm passed and the lake calmed again, the swan and the duck emerged from their shelter. The swan, still shaken by the experience, looked at the duck with gratitude. For the first time, he realized that beauty is not always the most important thing. The duck's humility, kindness, and wisdom had saved his life. "Thank you, duck," said the swan, in a softer, less arrogant voice. "Today I learned something I had never understood before." The duck smiled. "You don't need to thank me, swan. We all need help sometimes. And remember, it's not appearance that defines our worth, but what we carry in our hearts." And so, the swan and the duck became inseparable friends. The swan learned to see beyond his reflection, and the duck found new joy in sharing his life with an unexpected friend. But, even though the story seems to have found an end, the lake still holds secrets. Because, in its depths, lies a mystery even bigger than any storm. What will the swan and the duck discover next? Days passed, and the swan and the duck continued to enjoy the lake together. Although their lives were very different, they now understood each other better, and that made them feel closer. The swan no longer spent so much time looking at his reflection. Instead, he enjoyed the simple joys the duck showed him, such as chasing insects across the surface of the water or flying in the gentle evening breezes. One morning, as they swam together, the duck noticed something unusual. In the center of the lake, where the water was deepest, a soft light shone, as if the sun was reflecting off something beneath the surface. "Swan, do you see that?" asked the duck, pointing to the light. The swan, intrigued, nodded. "Yes, it's strange. I've never seen it before." What do you think it is? The duck, ever curious, suggested they investigate. It could be hidden treasure, he said excitedly. Or maybe a new friend. They both approached the glow cautiously. As they came closer, the light became brighter, but also softer, like a warm embrace. Suddenly, they realized it was no ordinary light. It was some kind of energy emanating from the bottom of the lake, creating bubbles that slowly rose to the surface. The swan, though still a little fearful, felt a strange attraction to the light. "There's something down there," he murmured. "Something calling to us." The duck, always keen to explore, dove in without hesitation. The swan followed, flapping its large wings to propel itself downward. As they descended, they noticed the water around them becoming clearer, almost as if they were entering another world. Bubbles surrounded them, caressing their feathers and filling them with a sense of peace. At the bottom of the lake, they found something amazing, a glowing stone, the size of an egg, emanating a golden light. It seemed alive, pulsing with each beat of their hearts. The swan and the duck looked at each other, surprised. "What do you think it is?" asked the swan, marveling at the stone's beauty. The duck, who had always been more intuitive, replied with a smile. "I think it's a gift. Something the lake offers us. But I'm not sure why." As they gazed at the stone, they began to hear a soft voice, like a whisper coming from deep within their minds. The voice spoke to them in a tone that was both warm and mysterious. "You have found the heart of the lake," the voice said. "It is a source of wisdom and power, but only those with pure hearts can discover its true purpose." The swan, who now understood the value of humility and kindness, felt that the stone was more than just an object. It was a symbol of the connection between them, between the lake and the life that flourished around it. "What should we do with it?" he asked, feeling a mixture of respect and responsibility. "The heart of the lake has the power to change whatever you touch," the voice replied. "It can make nature grow, heal wounds, or even grant wishes. But remember, its true power lies in balance, in harmony with the world." The duck and the swan then understood that they had something very special in their hands. But they also knew that they should not use it lightly. The stone was not just a gift, it was proof of their friendship, of what they had learned together. They slowly rose to the surface, carrying the stone with them. Once out of the water, they held it between them, feeling its warmth. "What shall we do with this?" asked the duck, looking at the swan. "Let's use it to make the lake an even more beautiful place," replied the swan, with a smile. "And let's promise to always take care of this place, and those who live here." So, the swan and the duck began a new adventure, using the heart of the lake to bring more life, joy, and peace to their home. And while the story seems to have reached a climax, the real journey was only just beginning. Because in every corner of the lake, and beyond, even greater secrets lay hidden, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to look. It was a quiet night, and the sun had decided to hide forever. That's how the story I'm telling you today began. I invite you to immerse yourself in it, to imagine every detail. In a faraway kingdom, there lived a dragon. It wasn't just any dragon. This dragon didn't breathe fire or fly high. His name was Zontaire, and his power was very special. He could steal the light and plunge the world into shadows. But Zontaire wasn't evil. He only wanted one thing, to see the sun, which had disappeared a long time ago. The light made him feel an emptiness in his chest, a deep and painful longing. Nearby, there lived a dog named Celestino. He was a celestial dog, with shiny fur and eyes that reflected all the stars in the sky. Celestino spent his days chasing constellations and chatting with the stars. One night, while the dragon tried to fill the world with shadows with his magic, he heard a lament. It was Celestino's cry. He approached and saw the dog in the middle of the darkness, desperately searching for something he couldn't find. Celestino turned to Zontaire. "What have you done with the sun?" he asked in a trembling voice. Zontaire, with sadness in his eyes, replied, "I haven't touched it. I've only spread my shadow. The sun is gone and I don't know how to bring it back." Celestino, despite his pain, understood that Zontaire was not the enemy. He decided to help him. Together, they began a journey to recover the light that the world had lost. They searched enchanted forests and forgotten mountains. They faced mysterious creatures and solved puzzles that fate presented to them. During their journey, Zontaire and Celestino found what they really needed: friendship. The celestial dog taught the dragon to appreciate the light that still remained, even if it was small. The dragon showed the dog the strength of darkness and how it could be beautiful in its own way. Finally, upon reaching the last corner of the world, they found a source of pure light. It wasn't the sun, but it was enough to bring back hope. The sun didn't come back right away, but the sky lit up with new stars. Zontaire and Celestino learned that true light doesn't only come from the sun. Sometimes, light can be found in the most unexpected places. Darkness, though feared, can be a blank canvas for friendship, hope, and renewal. Though the sun didn't fully return, the world began to shine again with the light Zontaire and Celestino found together. And so, the sunless night became a starry night. Because in every shadow, there is always a spark of light waiting to be discovered. Now, think about this: in your life, where do you find light amidst the darkness? What shadows are you willing to explore to find your own star? The story of Zontaire and Celestino continues. Because every night that falls is an opportunity to search for new lights in the darkness. And there will always be someone willing to help you along the way. As Zontaire and Celestino continued on their way, the night no longer seemed so dark to them. Every star they discovered was a sign that their mission had a purpose, even if they didn't know what the end would be. One day, as they crossed an ancient forest, they found a giant tree, its branches spread out like arms in search of something lost. At the base of the tree, there was a secret entrance, hidden among moss and leaves. The dragon and the dog, driven by curiosity, decided to enter. The cave inside the tree was warm and cozy, lit by crystals that shone with a soft, golden light. In the center, there was an ancient, dusty book, on a stone pedestal. Celestino, with his keen sense of smell, detected a familiar scent, the perfume of the stars. Zontaire, with his keen eyesight, observed inscriptions in the book. "It's an ancient grimoire," the dragon said, "it says it can summon the sun." They looked at each other in hope. Could it be that this book held the answer to their quest? They decided to decipher the text together. Zontaire used his magic to read the words, while Celestino interpreted the symbols with the help of his celestial knowledge. The pages spoke of a ritual to bring back the light of the sun, but it required two very special ingredients: the tear of a lost dream and the reflection of a pure heart. It seemed like an almost impossible challenge. Celestino thought of a dream he had had, a memory of sunny, warm days. Sadly, he took a tear from his eye, which fell onto the book, transforming into a shining crystal. Zontaire, his heart full of hope, reflected its light onto the crystal, turning it into a golden glow. As they did so, a soft, warm voice echoed through the cave. "Thank you for bringing me here," the voice said. It was the spirit of the sun, who had been asleep, waiting to be awakened. Suddenly, the book lit up with a light so bright that it momentarily blinded them. As the light faded, the sun began to peek over the horizon. It was not the same sun as before, but it was enough to illuminate the world again, bringing warmth and color to life. Zontaire and Celestino emerged from the cave and watched as the sky filled with vibrant colors. The sun, though timid, had returned. The days grew brighter, and the night, though still shadowy, was now dotted with stars that danced with joy. The people of the kingdom came out of their homes, marveling at the return of the light. The animals of the forest, grateful, threw a party in honor of the heroes who had returned the sun to its place. Zontaire and Celestino became legends. The story of how they had faced the darkness and found the light was told throughout generations. They were remembered not only for their exploits, but for the power of their friendship and their bravery. Now, every time you look up at the night sky, remember that even in the deepest shadows, there is a spark of light waiting to be found. Your own journey may be full of challenges, but every step you take into the darkness can lead you to discover a new light in your life. With the return of the sun, the kingdom flourished once again, but Zontaire and Celestino did not stop. They knew that the world was still full of mysteries and challenges to discover. So, with the sun shining in the sky and the light of the stars guiding their way, they decided to set out on a new adventure. One morning, as they walked through a meadow filled with flowers that glowed under the new sun, they found an ancient map tangled in the branches of a tree. The map was drawn with symbols they did not understand, but it had a route marked with a golden star at the end. The map promised to take them to a place known as the Garden of Secrets, a legendary site spoken of in tales and legends. This garden, according to the stories, held hidden treasures and secrets that could change the fate of whoever found them. Zontaire and Celestino decided to follow the map. The path was not easy. They passed through snowy mountains, rushing rivers, and dense jungles. Each stage of the journey presented them with new challenges, from puzzles they had to solve to magical creatures they had to face. In a clearing in the forest, they met a wise old woman, with a long cloak of green leaves and a staff made of ancient wood. She told them, "The Garden of Secrets holds not only material treasures, but also wisdom. You must prove your courage and pure heart to discover what you are truly looking for." Xantair and Celestino, firm in their purpose, continued their journey with renewed determination. Finally, they reached the entrance to the Garden of Secrets, guarded by an arch of bright flowers that seemed to whisper as they approached. Crossing the threshold, they found themselves in a place of indescribable beauty. The garden was filled with flowers of every color, fountains of crystal clear water, and trees that seemed to sing in the breeze. In the center, there was a large golden tree with fruits that shone like the sun. Each fruit on the golden tree contained a tiny spark of light, and each spark seemed to contain a fragment of ancient knowledge. Xantair and Celestino, as they approached the tree, felt a deep peace and a connection to the world beyond the visible. As they took a fruit, they felt a surge of wisdom and understanding. It was not a material treasure, but the realization that true wealth was in knowledge and in connection with the world and its mysteries. The wise old woman appeared again, smiling. "You have found what you were looking for." The Garden of Secrets not only reveals secrets, but teaches that the true treasure is the search itself, and the wisdom one gains in the process. With their hearts filled with gratitude and their minds enriched by the revelations of the garden, Xantair and Celestino returned home. They shared the lessons they learned with everyone they met, showing that the search for light and knowledge never ends, but is a constant adventure. And so, the sun continued to shine, the stars continued to dance in the night, and the story of Xantair and Celestino became a legend about the importance of friendship, courage, and the search for wisdom. Because, in the end, we are all on a journey in search of our own lights and secrets, and at each step, we discover a little more about the world and ourselves. Remember, dear viewer, that in your own life, every challenge and every adventure is an opportunity to discover something new. The real magic is in the journey and in the lessons you learn along the way. And so, like Xantair and Celestino, never stop exploring, learning, and searching for the light in every corner of your existence. The story of your life is endless, and each chapter you write will be part of a wonderful tale.
Ahora, en el nivel base, escucharemos y leeremos una historia corta, en español. Así, cuando lleguemos a la parte de inglés, te será mucho más fácil. Imagina que te encuentras en París, la ciudad del amor, de la luz, y de los sueños. Caminas por sus calles empedradas, sintiendo la brisa suave y el aroma del café recién hecho que emana de los encantadores cafés en cada esquina. El sonido de la risa y las conversaciones en francés llenan el aire, mientras los parisinos disfrutan de su día. Es una mañana tranquila. Decides explorar el barrio latino, conocido por sus librerías antiguas, pequeños bistros y la atmósfera bohemia. Al pasar por una librería, una portada de un libro llama tu atención. Entra y paseas entre las estanterías repletas de historias, dejando que el tiempo pase sin prisas. Los libros tienen esa magia de transportarte a otros mundos, y por un momento, te pierdes en ellos. Con un nuevo libro en la mano, sales a la calle y continúas tu paseo. Al cruzar el puente de las Artes, te detienes para admirar la vista del río Sena.
Los barcos turísticos pasan lentamente, y las parejas se detienen para tomar fotografías, capturando el momento. Te sientes en paz, como si el ritmo de París se sincronizara con el latido de tu corazón. Decides dirigirte hacia el Jardín de Luxemburgo, un oasis verde en medio de la ciudad. Los jardines están llenos de flores de colores vivos y estatuas clásicas. Encuentras un banco bajo un árbol y te sientas, abriendo el libro que compraste. El sonido de las hojas moviéndose con la brisa y el canto de los pájaros te envuelven, creando un ambiente perfecto para leer. De repente, notas que alguien se sienta a tu lado. Es una joven con una sonrisa cálida y ojos curiosos. ¿Qué lees?, te pregunta. Le muestras la portada del libro, y ella asiente con interés. Comienzan a conversar, primero sobre libros y luego sobre la vida en general. Descubres que ella también está explorando la ciudad, encontrando inspiración en cada rincón. Mientras hablan, te das cuenta de que este encuentro es especial. No solo por la conexión inmediata, sino porque te recuerda que los momentos más inesperados son los que suelen traer la mayor alegría. Siguen caminando juntos, compartiendo historias y risas. París, con su encanto y belleza, se convierte en el telón de fondo de esta nueva amistad. Llegan a la Torre Eiffel justo cuando el sol comienza a ponerse. Las luces de la torre empiezan a brillar, iluminando la noche. Te sientes agradecido por este día, por los pequeños momentos y por las nuevas conexiones. Te das cuenta de que la verdadera magia de París no está solo en sus monumentos, sino en las experiencias que te ofrece y las personas que conoces en el camino. Mientras se despiden, prometen mantenerse en contacto y quizás volver a encontrarse en algún otro rincón del mundo. Al regresar a tu hotel, sientes que este paseo por París te ha cambiado. Te ha enseñado a estar abierto a lo inesperado y a valorar las conexiones humanas. Esa noche, mientras cierras los ojos, piensas en la joven que conociste y en cómo un simple paseo puede transformar un día ordinario en una aventura inolvidable. Entiendes que, a veces, la vida te regala momentos inesperados que enriquecen tu alma y te llenan de esperanza. Y así, duermes con una sonrisa, agradecido por las maravillas de la vida y por la magia de un día normal paseando por París.
Genial, ahora es turno del inglés. En el nivel fácil, escucharemos el audio en inglés, y mostraremos ambos subtítulos en pantalla. Si te gusta esta forma de aprender, suscríbete al canal, y quédate hasta el final, tengo un regalo muy especial para ti. Seguimos. Imagine that you are in Paris, the city of love, light, and dreams. You walk through its cobblestone streets, feeling the gentle breeze and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee emanating from the charming cafes on every corner. The sound of laughter and French conversations fill the air, as Parisians enjoy their day. It's a quiet morning. You decide to explore the Latin Quarter, known for its old bookstores, small bistros, and bohemian atmosphere. When passing by a bookstore, a book cover catches your attention. Enter and walk among the shelves full of stories, letting time pass without rushing. Books have that magic of transporting you to other worlds, and for a moment, you lose yourself in them. With a new book in hand, you go outside and continue your walk. As you cross the Pont des Arts, you stop to admire the view of the Seine River. Tour boats slowly pass by, and couples stop to take photos, capturing the moment. You feel at peace, as if the rhythm of Paris is synchronized with the beat of your heart. You decide to head towards the Luxembourg Garden, a green oasis in the middle of the city. The gardens are filled with brightly colored flowers and classical statues. You find a bench under a tree and sit down, opening the book you bought. The sound of leaves moving in the breeze and birdsong surround you, creating a perfect environment for reading. Suddenly, you notice someone sitting next to you. She is a young woman with a warm smile and curious eyes. "What do you read?" she asks you. You show her the cover of the book, and she nods with interest.
They begin to talk, first about books and then about life in general. You discover that she is also exploring the city, finding inspiration in every corner. As they talk, you realize that this meeting is special. Not just because of the immediate connection, but because she reminds you that the most unexpected moments are the ones that often bring the most joy. They continue walking together, sharing stories and laughter. Paris, with its charm and beauty, becomes the backdrop for this new friendship. They arrive at the Eiffel Tower just as the sun begins to set. The lights of the tower begin to shine, illuminating the night. You feel grateful for this day, for the small moments and for the new connections. You realize that the true magic of Paris is not only in its monuments, but in the experiences it offers you and the people you meet along the way. As they say goodbye, they promise to keep in touch and perhaps meet again in some other corner of the world. When you return to your hotel, you feel that this walk through Paris has changed you. It has taught you to be open to the unexpected and to value human connections. That night, as you close your eyes, you think about the young woman you met and how a simple walk can transform an ordinary day into an unforgettable adventure. You understand that, sometimes, life gives you unexpected moments that enrich your soul and fill you with hope. And so, you sleep with a smile, grateful for the wonders of life and the magic of a normal day walking through Paris.
Lo has hecho muy bien, ahora que ya has escuchado la historia en ambos idiomas, tu mente subconsciente ya ha grabado esas palabras y sabe cómo traducirlas. Ahora en el nivel intermedio, vamos a instalar esas palabras en tu mente, y para eso vamos a practicar con la lectura en inglés. Por favor, concéntrate bien, y lee atentamente cada una de las palabras, si no tu mente se va a distraer.
Imagine that you are in Paris, the city of love, light, and dreams. You walk through its cobblestone streets, feeling the gentle breeze and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee emanating from the charming cafes on every corner. The sound of laughter and French conversations fill the air, as Parisians enjoy their day. It's a quiet morning. You decide to explore the Latin Quarter, known for its old bookstores, small bistros and bohemian atmosphere. When passing by a bookstore, a book cover catches your attention. Enter and walk among the shelves full of stories, letting time pass without rushing. Books have that magic of transporting you to other worlds, and for a moment, you lose yourself in them. With a new book in hand, you go outside and continue your walk. As you cross the Pont des Arts, you stop to admire the view of the Seine River. Tour boats slowly pass by, and couples stop to take photos, capturing the moment. You feel at peace, as if the rhythm of Paris is synchronized with the beat of your heart. You decide to head towards the Luxembourg Garden, a green oasis in the middle of the city. The gardens are filled with brightly colored flowers and classical statues. You find a bench under a tree and sit down, opening the book you bought. The sound of leaves moving in the breeze and birdsong surround you, creating a perfect environment for reading. Suddenly, you notice someone sitting next to you. She is a young woman with a warm smile and curious eyes. "What do you read?" she asks you. You show her the cover of the book, and she nods with interest. They begin to talk, first about books and then about life in general. You discover that she is also exploring the city, finding inspiration in every corner. As they talk, you realize that this meeting is special. Not just because of the immediate connection, but because she reminds you that the most unexpected moments are the ones that often bring the most joy. They continue walking together, sharing stories and laughter. Paris, with its charm and beauty, becomes the backdrop for this new friendship. They arrive at the Eiffel Tower just as the sun begins to set. The lights of the tower begin to shine, illuminating the night. You feel grateful for this day, for the small moments and for the new connections. You realize that the true magic of Paris is not only in its monuments, but in the experiences it offers you and the people you meet along the way. As they say goodbye, they promise to keep in touch and perhaps meet again in some other corner of the world. When you return to your hotel, you feel that this walk through Paris has changed you. It has taught you to be open to the unexpected and to value human connections. That night, as you close your eyes, you think about the young woman you met and how a simple walk can transform an ordinary day into an unforgettable adventure. You understand that, sometimes, life gives you unexpected moments that enrich your soul and fill you with hope. And so, you sleep with a smile, grateful for the wonders of life and the magic of a normal day walking through Paris.
Genial. Ahora en el nivel difícil, practicaremos tu habilidad auditiva con el inglés, escucharás la historia solo con el audio en inglés y sin nada en pantalla. Quiero que cierres los ojos, esto te ayudará a concentrarte mejor en cada una de las palabras. Este ejercicio te ayudará a que puedas afinar mejor tu oído al idioma.
Imagine that you are in Paris, the city of love, light, and dreams. You walk through its cobblestone streets, feeling the gentle breeze and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee emanating from the charming cafes on every corner. The sound of laughter and French conversations fill the air, as Parisians enjoy their day. It's a quiet morning. You decide to explore the Latin Quarter, known for its old bookstores, small bistros and bohemian atmosphere. When passing by a bookstore, a book cover catches your attention. Enter and walk among the shelves full of stories, letting time pass without rushing. Books have that magic of transporting you to other worlds, and for a moment, you lose yourself in them. With a new book in hand, you go outside and continue your walk. As you cross the Pont des Arts, you stop to admire the view of the Seine River. Tour boats slowly pass by, and couples stop to take photos, capturing the moment. You feel at peace, as if the rhythm of Paris is synchronized with the beat of your heart. You decide to head towards the Luxembourg Garden, a green oasis in the middle of the city. The gardens are filled with brightly colored flowers and classical statues. You find a bench under a tree and sit down, opening the book you bought. The sound of leaves moving in the breeze and birdsong surround you, creating a perfect environment for reading. Suddenly, you notice someone sitting next to you. She is a young woman with a warm smile and curious eyes. "What do you read?" she asks you. You show her the cover of the book, and she nods with interest. They begin to talk, first about books and then about life in general. You discover that she is also exploring the city, finding inspiration in every corner. As they talk, you realize that this meeting is special. Not just because of the immediate connection, but because she reminds you that the most unexpected moments are the ones that often bring the most joy. They continue walking together, sharing stories and laughter. Paris, with its charm and beauty, becomes the backdrop for this new friendship. They arrive at the Eiffel Tower just as the sun begins to set. The lights of the tower begin to shine, illuminating the night. You feel grateful for this day, for the small moments and for the new connections. You realize that the true magic of Paris is not only in its monuments, but in the experiences it offers you and the people you meet along the way. As they say goodbye, they promise to keep in touch and perhaps meet again in some other corner of the world. When you return to your hotel, you feel that this walk through Paris has changed you. It has taught you to be open to the unexpected and to value human connections. That night, as you close your eyes, you think about the young woman you met and how a simple walk can transform an ordinary day into an unforgettable adventure. You understand that, sometimes, life gives you unexpected moments that enrich your soul and fill you with hope. And so, you sleep with a smile, grateful for the wonders of life and the magic of a normal day walking through Paris.
Te felicito, lo has hecho muy bien. ¿Qué te ha parecido este vídeo? Escribe en comentarios qué nivel de dificultad te ha parecido más difícil para ti. Y recuerda que en el primer comentario, te hemos preparado varios regalos que te ayudarán a aprender y mejorar tu inglés desde cero, con una metodología nueva. No te los pierdas. Te veo en el siguiente vídeo.
The Lion and the Patient Turtle. Once upon a time, there was a strong and proud lion, known as the King of the Jungle. His name was Leo. Leo liked to be the fastest, the strongest, and of course, the most feared. All the animals respected him, but deep down, he always had a doubt. Was there something or someone stronger than him? One day, while walking through the jungle, Leo saw a turtle. The turtle was moving very slowly, dragging its heavy shell along the ground. Leo, seeing it, couldn't help but laugh. How can you live being so slow? Leo mocked. The turtle, whose name was Taika, raised her head and looked at him calmly. Speed isn't everything, Leo, she replied calmly. Leo, still laughing, proposed a race. If you manage to get to the top of that hill before the day is over, I'll let you live in peace, he exclaimed. Taika accepted the challenge without hesitation. She knew she couldn't beat Leo in speed, but she trusted in his patience. So while the lion ran back and forth, showing off his speed, Taika moved forward slowly, one step after another. The sun moved slowly in the sky, and Leo grew impatient. Every now and then, he saw Taika keep moving forward, always at the same pace, without stopping. Why don't you give up? Leo shouted from the top of the hill. But Taika didn't give up. Her slow but steady pace brought her closer and closer to the top. Leo, tired of waiting, decided to take a nap under a tree. I have all the time in the world, he thought, closing his eyes. While Leo slept, Taika continued to move forward. When the sun began to set, Taika reached the top of the hill, just as the last rays of light touched the ground. Leo woke up startled by the applause of the other animals. When he opened his eyes, he saw Taika at the top, surrounded by all the animals of the jungle, who were applauding and congratulating her. The lion, still surprised, understood the lesson. Strength and speed do not always win. Sometimes, patience and perseverance are the true keys to success. Moral: patience and perseverance will take you further than strength and speed. Never underestimate the power of moving forward, even slowly. But this is not the end of the story. In fact, the story is just beginning. After the race, Taika and Leo became friends. Together, they began to explore the jungle, discovering that there was much more to learn and share. Every time they encountered a new challenge, they faced it together, combining Leo's speed and strength with Taika's patience and wisdom. The jungle was a magical place, full of mysteries and adventures. There were rivers to cross, mountains to climb, and secrets to unearth. And at every step, Leo and Taika learned something new. One day, they found a secret cave, hidden under a huge tree. Inside the cave, there was an ancient map that showed the way to a forgotten treasure, a treasure that, according to legend, could grant any wish. Leo, excited, wanted to run to the treasure right away. But Taika, with her usual calmness, suggested that they take it carefully. After all, the paths to great treasures are always full of traps and challenges. And so, they began a new adventure, following the map, facing each obstacle with a combination of strength, speed, patience and wisdom. Moral of this new part: the real treasure is not always what you find at the end, but what you learn along the way. But of course, the adventure continues. What other challenges will Leo and Taika encounter? What wishes will the treasure hold for them? The story has no end, because as long as there are dreams, challenges, and friends to share them with, the adventure will always continue. Leo and Taika followed the map with great enthusiasm. The path took them through dense jungles, dangerous cliffs, and rushing rivers. At each stop, Taika watched the surroundings carefully, while Leo remained alert, ready to face any danger. One day, they came to a suspension bridge that swung over a deep abyss. The bridge was old and looked like it could break at any moment. Leo, with his courage, decided to cross first. But when he took the first step, the bridge creaked under his weight. "Wait, Leo!" Taika shouted. "Maybe there is another way to cross." Leo stopped and looked at Taika, somewhat confused. He had always trusted in his strength, but now he understood that he must also trust in his friend's wisdom. Taika surveyed the area and discovered some thick vines hanging from nearby trees. Carefully, she tied them to the bridge, reinforcing it. Now, although the bridge was still fragile, it was safer to cross. With patience and care, the two managed to cross the chasm. Leo, impressed, thanked Taika for her ingenuity. Moral: intelligence and caution are as important as bravery. After crossing the bridge, they continued forward until they reached a desert area. The heat was overwhelming and they soon began to feel exhausted. Water was scarce, and they both realized that they could not continue without a break. While they were looking for shelter, Leo found a small, cool cave where they could take shelter from the sun. They lay down and, as they rested, they began to dream of what they would do if they found the treasure. Leo dreamed of being the most powerful king of the jungle, able to protect all the animals. Taika, on the other hand, dreamed of a place where all animals lived in harmony, without the need to compete or fight. When they woke up, they realized that their desires were not so different. They both wanted the best for the jungle and its inhabitants, but they realized that power and peace did not always go hand in hand. They pondered how they could achieve both dreams without sacrificing one for the other. Moral: true leaders seek the well-being of all, not just their own. The journey continued until, finally, they reached a large mountain. According to the map, the treasure was hidden at the top. The mountain was high and steep, and climbing it would require all their strength and skills. Taika, with her patience, suggested alternative paths, longer but less dangerous. Leo, with his energy, led on the more complicated stretches, helping Taika when the terrain became difficult. Working as a team, they managed to ascend the mountain. Upon reaching the top, they found a stone door with ancient inscriptions. The words were in a forgotten language, but Taika, with her wisdom, managed to decipher the message: the true treasure is not gold or silver, but the heart that searches with purity. Confused at first, Leo and Taika pushed the door and, when it opened, they found a bright light that enveloped them. Suddenly, they felt an inner peace that they had never experienced before. They understood that the treasure was not something material, but the journey they had shared, the lessons learned and the friendship they had cultivated. Final moral: sometimes, the most valuable treasure is the journey and the connections you make along the way. But, although they found peace, they knew that the jungle still held many mysteries. And so, they decided not to stop. Because as long as there were paths to travel and lessons to learn, Leo and Taika's story would never have a true end. The adventure would continue, like a never-ending story, full of magic, challenges and above all, friendship. The light that surrounded Leo and Taika filled them with a new energy. As the light faded, they found themselves in a completely different landscape. They were no longer on the top of the mountain, but in a vast meadow covered in bright flowers and giant trees that touched the sky. In the distance, they could see a castle made of crystal. It was so sparkling that it seemed to be made of pure light. Without hesitation, they began to walk towards it, guided by a sense of curiosity and excitement. As they approached the castle, they noticed that there was a river running around it. The water was so clear that they could see all the way to the bottom, where gemstones of all colors were shining. However, there was no bridge to cross. Leo looked at Taika, waiting for an idea. "We don't always need to find a bridge," Taika said with a smile. Then, she slowly dove into the water. Surprisingly, the water was warm and pleasant, not as deep as it looked. Leo followed her, and together they crossed the river with ease, enjoying the gentle flow of the water. When they reached the other side, they encountered a strange being. It was a small creature, about the size of a rabbit, but with transparent, shiny wings like those of a dragonfly. The creature greeted them with a soft, melodious voice. "Welcome to the Valley of Dreams," the creature said. "I am Lilu, guardian of the castle. Only those who search with a pure heart can enter." Leo and Taika looked at each other. They knew they had come here not out of greed or ambition, but out of friendship and a desire to learn. Lilu, seeing the sincerity in their eyes, led them to the entrance of the castle. The interior of the castle was even more amazing. Each room was filled with wonders: trees that grew from the floor to the ceiling, fountains that gushed with golden water, and mirrors that showed not only the reflection of the person looking into it, but also their deepest dreams and desires. In a special room, they found a large, ancient book placed on a glass pedestal. Lilu explained to them that this book contained all the stories ever told, and that each page wrote itself, revealing new adventures and knowledge to those who read it with humility. Taika, ever curious, opened the book. As she did, the pages began to glow and the words appeared as if they were alive. The story that was forming before her eyes was hers, Leo and Taika's, from the moment they met until that very moment. But then, something incredible happened. The pages that followed were blank, waiting to be written. "This is your next challenge," Lilu said. "Every decision you make, every path you choose, will fill these blank pages. There is no fixed destination, but endless possibilities. The story has no end, because there is always more to discover." Leo, amazed, looked at Taika. They both understood that their journey did not end there. The castle, the book, the valley of dreams, everything was part of a much bigger adventure. And the most exciting thing was that they were not alone. They had Lilu, their new friend, and they knew that as long as they were together, they could face any challenge. They left the castle with their hearts full of hope. The world around them was vast and full of wonders they had not yet seen. As they walked through the meadow, the sun shone with a soft, welcoming warmth, as if welcoming them to a new chapter of their story. Moral: life is full of blank pages, waiting to be written with every decision and action. The real treasure is in the adventure of discovering what comes next. And so, Leo, Taika, and Lilu ventured beyond the meadow, into the unknown. They knew that as long as their hearts remained pure and their intentions sincere, the pages of the book would be filled with wonderful stories, profound lessons, and most of all, everlasting friendship. The road stretched out to the horizon, promising new adventures, mysteries to solve, and more friends to find. And as long as you keep reading, the story will continue, growing with every step they take and with every dream you, dear reader, imagine for them. Because in the land of stories, the story never ends, but always renews itself, like an eternal cycle of magic and hope.
Y con eso terminamos. Si te gustó este vídeo, asegúrate de suscribirte al canal. Además, te invitamos a ver el siguiente vídeo que te dejamos por aquí, para seguir mejorando tu nivel de inglés a base de práctica y repetición. Nos vemos allí.